In this video, I would like to talk about the communication policy as part of the marketing mix or the marketing instrumentarium. As we see in that picture here, the marketing instrumentarium, marketing mix consists of 4 P's. It's the product policy, price policy, place policy or distribution policy, and also the promotion or communication policy. So what is the promotion policy, communication policy all about? It is about any kind of marketing communication, which is used to inform the target groups, the customers, but not only the customers, also the other stakeholders of an organization about their product, about their service, about their brands, about the organization in general. So marketing communication, it is about informing the consumers or the users. It is about also a necessary task to inform consumers to start at the very, very first step in this so-called buying process. So at the beginning, customers and also potential customers, they need to be informed. Firms, they need to catch the attention of the customers. Sometimes the needs are still not manifested, but they must be created, or they must be, let's say, converted from so-called latent needs towards a more manifested needs. And therefore, communication or information is necessary. So marketing, it's also about spreading the information about the other 3 P's of the marketing mix. So the product and the features of the product, the price and all the other payment conditions in total, and also the place and the channels where can we get this product, or where can we get that service, or how can we get that product or service. It is also to communication is also related to the awareness about the brand, and to the perception about what the product and the firm characteristics are. This helps customers to attribute a very clear position to a company. Marketing communication is also to establish loyalty. So to strengthen the existing relationships to the customers and to the other stakeholders. Communication is also a long-term task. So it's not only short-term relationship. So the interesting thing with marketing communication is that it needs to keep up with times and need to keep up with trends. It's about technical trends, but also about social trends, such as role models, such as gender models. So for example, the Marlboro, they had to leave behind the traditional picture of the Marlboro man, or this very classical, very traditional, very conservative picture, because this was not attractive and not contemporary anymore. Marketing also uses, or marketing communication also plays with emotions. Even if the products themselves, even if they are not emotional products, emotions trigger people and they get attention. So such as, for example, the emotion of feeling secure, or the emotion of extreme situation. This is not only in the business to consumer market, but also in the business to business market. So we have different subsectors of marketing communication, and I just want to point out some of them. The media advertising, this is the classical way of informing customers and to advertising. It can be done by, for example, by radio and by TV advertising, or by website and social media advertising. The message is typically a universal and identical message to a mass of people. So it's mass communication. But of course, with modern technology, big data and also artificial intelligence and so on, it can be also individualized and maybe more tailored to the customer or to the target groups which I want to communicate with. So it's today we are really in this shift from a mass communication where everybody gets the same message to a more individualized mass communication, if you want to, where I get my individual message, or where I, as a company, can talk individually to its customers. Public relation is the aim with public relation is not to communicate about a specific product, but about a firm and an organization in general, and the characteristics of that firm, the value of that firm in general. The goal is to manage, let's say, behavior relevant attitudes towards the brand and towards the company itself. Yeah, so it's also, let's say, the crisis communication makes part of this public relations. Yeah, so when I get somehow in crisis due to, let's say, bad news about the company, then I have to communicate to the public. Yeah, so to turn that into a more positive, attitude towards my company. Sales promotion. Sales promotion is about, well, the aim is to stimulate consumption, and to stimulate the buying in a very, very direct way. So this is often also done at the point of sale, let's say at the supermarket itself, but also at the internet, on a website or so, with special offers, which force then the customers towards a very, very specific buying decision. Yeah, so it's really, compared to public relations, which is not about a specific product, sales promotion is really about a specific product and a specific selling process. Direct sales also, direct sales, it's about, is a type of sales that implies very direct contact between the seller and a consumer without involving any third parties. So it is therefore also the direct interaction and direct communication between a seller and a buyer. So we have this individual, for example, individual contracting. We have this personal contact between me as a company or me as an organization and my target group, my customer group. Sponsoring is then also, compared to the others, it's very similar to public relations. Yeah, so it can be also part of the public relations strategy. Sponsoring, again, is not to promote a specific service, but to steer somehow the awareness of the people. Groups, for example, sports teams, or also individuals, or cultural organizations and so on, they can be sponsored. And the image of that team or of that cultural organization or of that individual is then be transferred back to the brand. So like when I sponsoring a sports team, a soccer team, or a theater or so, then I somehow get aspects of the image back to my company. So these have just been some types of some subtypes of marketing communication instruments. One very important one is the advertising. So advertising is a very traditional form of marketing communication. Advertising is not necessarily bad. It can also be seen as a helpful and beneficial information process. So that the customers, they get the information about the products and about the services. For example, how is the product available? Where can I buy it? When can I buy it? What is the price? And what are the specific features of that product? Is that a relevant product for me or not? So customers, they can then match their own demand and check out let's say, concrete, very specific offers, if they are attractive to them or not. Customers, they can also inform themselves on the range of the products. Yeah, so create a preliminary selection of product alternatives. The customers, they can compare different offers from different suppliers. Yeah, so what product has the best features, which fit best to my specific use. And customers, they can draw their own attention on a new product or on a new service or a new feature of a specific product. So advertising is, as I said, is not necessarily a bad thing. And especially if advertising gets more and more individualized. Yeah, so when I get only advertisers which are probably relevant to me, then this might also increase the value of advertisement. And public relation, then, compared to that, public relation and also sponsoring, as I said before, it is different, very different from advertising, since advertising is focused typically on a specific product, and public relation is focused on the image and on the perception of a company or of an organization. So therefore, the target groups are all, let's say, all relevant stakeholders, not only the customers or not only the users and the buyers, but also potential employees, the media, of course, or the society in general, if you want to. So that's why it's called public relations. So the relationship towards the public. Okay, so a good question is how to determine the marketing and the advertising budget. So the question is, how much money should I use and should I spend for marketing communication? And there are different ways in how to really determine this amount of money. One way is the so-called sales volume-oriented approach. So I set my advertising and my communication budget as a fixed share of the annual turnover from the year before. So from the period before. The problem is that if let's say sales somehow go down, then this of course also the absolute amount of the share for the next period of time goes down. So and then I can spend less money in marketing in the next year, and then probably because of that decrease in marketing spendings, sales are then even lower than the year before. And so I get trapped in a specific, let's say, in a negative way. So this is why companies, they need to look for anti-cyclic advertising efforts. So when I recognize that, well, my sales dropped, so I have to invest more money in communication and in marketing. Profit-oriented marketing budget is pretty much the same. So it's about a specific share of the profits. Very similar to the sales volume-oriented approach. Competition-oriented approach is that I look to what do my competitors do. So often it's only about an estimation. So I don't know the exact number what my competitors do, but I can probably also count, let's say, the campaigns. I can count the internet advertisements. I can count how often competitors are present in a specific TV show, and so on. So and I try to be very similar, or try to invest the same money as my competitors do. Best way is, of course, an objective-oriented approach. So where I first have to determine specific goals. What do I want to reach with my communication? I want to reach, for example, customer awareness. I want to reach brand recognition. I want to get a specific image. And then I have to set my communications budget in order that this is possible. Yeah, so if for example, at the beginning of a period, nobody knows about my company, or nobody knows about my product, or I have only a very, very low brand recognition, so I can ask myself, okay, what is the best way to get a higher brand recognition? What is the best way to get a higher awareness? And then I have to invest money, yeah, just to reach these goals. Yeah, so, or this objective. That's why it's called objective-oriented approach. So the problem with marketing and with marketing spendings is, of course, that the effect is we cannot directly see this effect. Yeah, so it's also not easy to really clearly see the link between cause and effect, between the spendings and the marketing budget at the one side, and the objectives and the outcome at the other side. Yeah, so it is clear that a marketing campaign will not immediately result in more buyers and in higher sales. Yeah, so if I invest in a marketing campaign, in an advertising campaign today, I will not increase the number of buyers necessarily in the next week. It will take more time. Yeah, so marketing, first of all, wants to get in contact with the people and to get their attention, yeah, and also to get brand awareness. So people are aware of my company, are aware of the brand name, and probably also get aware of the product itself. And then marketing wants to obtain so-called recall. Yeah, so this is when customers take a brand into account with their within their buying process. So the firm and the product of that firm, they become real buying alternatives. Yeah, so literature also says that consumers will normally purchase one of the top 3 brands in their so-called consideration set. Yeah, so this is the products and the brands which I consider as relevant and as potential alternatives for me. So marketers, they want to increase the probability that consumers include the brand in their own consideration sets. And then it's about, of course, the purchase itself. Yeah, so, and the long-term customer loyalty also. They are then the end of this chain. Yeah, so, but what we see is that there is not a direct relationship. There is some steps, and consumers and then companies will need, yeah, they need to be aware of the fact that, well, it is probably a long way down from getting the first contact with a specific brand and then being a long-term loyal customer at the very end. So marketing mix in general, just to sum up, what we see is that the marketing mix and the 4 Ps in marketing, they have a number of weaknesses. So they, for example, underemphasize other marketing activities, for example, customer service, so which is not explicitly mentioned within the marketing mix in its 4 Ps of marketing. It is also about other activities, such as the employees which perform the customer service, but also the packaging, which are not really included in these 4 Ps of marketing. Another aspect is that the perspective or the view of this marketing instrumentarium oftentimes is the seller's view or the company's view on the of the market. Yeah, so the buyer's view is probably very different. Yeah, so the buyer's view, it's not about, okay, the promotion communication instrumentarium. The buyer's view is more focused on what value do I get if I buy a specific service or if I buy a specific product. How does that make my life easier? So, and especially in the digital world, the companies need not to stick with this very traditional marketing mix and marketing instrumentarium, which is a good starting point, of course, but they need to have to go beyond and to ask themselves more about, to put themselves more into the buyers and into the users' shoes, to understand what value is going to be created for the users with a specific service or with a specific product. Thanks for your attention, and bye-bye.